My garden is not big, but it can make your middle leg stocky.
Malada.
This film is titled Family Practice. This film tells of a stepmother who really wants offspring. But this was never obtained because her husband was sluggish. Maybe not from her husband, but also from her husband's children. At the beginning of the film we will be shown a couple named Simon and Phoebe. They are both art students in agriculture. This Phoebe comes from a broken home where his father impregnated a bull, unlike Simon, where every Saturday all of Simon's extended family gathers to hold urine nest fights. Simon himself had two mothers, namely his biological mother and stepmother. Of course his stepmother was prettier. If he wasn't beautiful, it meant that Simon's father had cataracts. After the event was over there was a small incident in which Simon's biological mother fell unconscious due to Simon's father sitting on his mother all night. A few days later Simon, as usual, became a student studying hives. He also gave his work to Phoebe to review it for the needs of the project they were both working on. Shortly thereafter, Simon's biological mother came to speak 2 eyes, plus Simon's 2 eyes, so the total is 4 eyes. Because Phoebe is a good future daughter-in-law and has a fairly large watermelon, she also gave time for the two of them to talk. His mother's goal came to ask Simon to take care of his father's business for a while. Because his biological mother and father are going on vacation abroad, maybe abroad his father has more freedom to occupy his mother. And Simon will take care of his father's business accompanied by a stepmother named Sonia. Simon had refused, because he had not seen the watermelon in his stepmother's garden, but after his mother cried he also wanted to, because if Simon did not want, then his father would have a holiday with his young wife, namely Simon's stepmother. Automatically Sonia's garden that was wet wasn't Simon's mother's garden. That was what his mother didn't expect, like it or not. Simon asked permission to leave the project from Phoebe. Phoebe was very disappointed, but after it was explained that Simon only needed a week, Phoebe tried to understand. The next day after getting permission from his girlfriend Phoebe, he came to his father's office. When he got there, Simon was taught and told what he had to do, namely giving the prescription according to what has been recorded in the book for his father's patient. Because his father is a well-known specialist doctor. After everything was deemed appropriate, his father and mother went on vacation, while Simon works accompanied by his voluptuous stepmother Sonia. They went through days without the slightest conversation, which Simon hated Sonia, because he was married to his father. This can be seen from Simon's indifferent attitude every time he meets his stepmother. But one day, a beautiful woman came who claimed to be her father's personal masseuse, which today was her schedule to massage her father Simon. Hearing this, Sonia explained that the doctor was on vacation. Disappointed with husband, Sonia also cried because she couldn't believe her husband hired a masseuse with a rather big butt. Simon felt sorry for seeing Sonia crying and tried to calm her down. But this is where the seeds of child and stepmother love begin. The next day, since that incident, Simon and Sonia's relationship began to improve. Not as usual, Simon started to greet his stepmother. But in the afternoon, suddenly there was a package from his father for Sonia, namely roses, with messages of love for Sonia. Simon was annoyed with his greedy father, loving 2 women at once plus a masseuse. Simon threw the flowers away. However, on the way back to the office, Simon had to be disappointed again, because he saw his girlfriend having lunch with a man with long hair who did not know who the man was. Phoebe tried to explain that the long-haired man was an artist who would help with her project. Hearing that, Simon was disappointed and immediately returned to the office. The next day, Simon tries to approach his girlfriend again. But he didn't believe it, when he saw his girlfriend looking for a replacement for him without telling Simon beforehand. Simon felt betrayed, then went and immediately called his father. Simon said he wanted to stop working to continue his studies. Instead of being supported, Simon was lectured by his father. Annoyed with his father, and his girlfriend who doesn't appreciate him, Simon returns to the office and he immediately approaches Sonia with passion, because he hasn't planted crops in his girlfriend's garden for a long time. So his stepmother's garden becomes. Here they immediately fight mechanics. After the incident of sweating together, their relationship is no longer like a child and a stepmother, but like a pair of lovers. That night Simon goes to the bar to talk to his girlfriend. Bravely and honestly, Simon says that he has done mid-leg exercise with Sonia. Instantly Phoebe was shocked and couldn't believe that her boyfriend was having an affair. Then Phoebe went away with a feeling of disappointment. It wasn't long before Sonia suddenly texted that she was lonely, and needed Simon's middle leg to patch her nose. Hearing the news, Simon was immediately launched with lightning speed regardless of rain and storms. The next day, when Simon wakes up and Sonia is out shopping, suddenly her father comes home, and he finds out what they did last night. Without disappointment from his father, to his wife and children, but he was not angry because he realized that he was sluggish and could not give Sonia children. Long story short, Simon returned to his house, but suddenly his biological mother called him crying, because his father was cleaning up his things to live with Sonia, with the reason that Sonia was depressed. Even though his father did not want his young wife to be planted with corn again with his son. Because of that, Simon remembered his girlfriend. He went straight to him to apologize. Phoebe, who was very disappointed in Simon, he cried and threw him out. Here Simon felt very sorry. With all his emotions, Simon tore up all the paintings until he fell unconscious because of high blood engulfing him rising up to the sky. When Simon woke up surprised because he was in the hospital, his father, who was there, tried to calm Simon down and told him the reason why his father could marry Sonia. It turns out that Sonia is a patient of her father who almost committed suicide because of a love problem. Because of that, his father married Sonia. Hearing this, Simon couldn't believe it, seeing that Sonia was suffering more and more. But his father thought that if he divorced Sonia, Sonia's house would be full of eggplants and cucumbers. A few days later, his father was seen giving a seminar which was attended by many people. Simon is very proud of his father's success as a reliable doctor and psychiatrist. A few months later, their family is reunited. It is shown that Sonia has a baby, but I don't know who the father is. Do any of you want to be the father of Sonia's child? Immediately register yourself at Aceli. Finished? Thank you for watching. I said goodbye to standing. Regards.